Ajay, you are a resident physician, but you're also an entrepreneur, a blogger, writer with a particular interest in AI. Tell me about why you're interested in AI.
Absolutely, and thank you again for having me on, Judy. So, as you mentioned, I am a radiology resident right now, and I've had the privilege to be a part of endeavors that are challenging the status quo of using technology to really make a difference in our patients' lives. And through my training, I've tried to launch these platforms within direct patient care. And unfortunately, I've learned the realities of building these technologies. We might have the best technology, but it's very hard to implement it within the healthcare system and the healthcare network. And so when I came to last year's RSNA and I saw, the usual CT and MRI and ultrasound booths, but when I saw the AI booth and I saw all the hype around it, I was like, wait a minute, there's something going on here. And so over the course of the last year, I've made it a point to reach out to AI companies, really dig into their literature, really look into basic medical science involving AI, see what works, see what doesn't work. And that sort of led me to, do all the work that I've been doing, interviewing healthcare leaders, looking at their views on AI, interviewing, executives who are launching AI companies, and, also interviewing core researchers who are looking to use AI to make a difference in their research workflow and also clinical patient care. So that's kind of been my impetus around AI, and that's something that's driving me to do more in the future.
And as you scan the healthcare landscape and in your research, what is your assessment so far? Still a lot of hype, or are we really solving practical problems?
I think we're sort of in the middle. I think we're unfortunately fortunately rather at a happy balance, trying to cut down through the hype and trying to really build products that can make a difference, both not just for patient care, but also for the physician workflow. I think that we are at the process of building platforms that can, help the physicians sort of automate things that should be automated. There's a lot of routine stuff that we do as physicians that AI could be very good at automating that, and if we can build a platform or work with collaborators that are building platforms that integrate healthcare systems, integrate different like health providers, big large healthcare institutions, I think that would be very easy then to leverage the data advantage and build AI products that can help both physicians and patients.
What are the main barriers to real progress in this area?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. That's something that we're all sort of discovering now after the hype is sort of dying down and we're learning more about the technology. I think the number one barrier is data. So, we have these clean data sets, the ones where, you have the X-ray tech sort of taking an X-ray of a patient without any artifacts, which is just a medical term for, things that can confuse us humans from like diagnosing real disease. So when we see that, we as humans have the decision sort of capability. We can say, yes, that's not an actual pathology. That's just something that's just within the patient's sort of surroundings or whatever that's causing us to look that way. AI, unfortunately, cannot differentiate that. So when you have all these clean data sets without any of these artifacts, the AI might diagnose that as a pathology, and that limits it from being sort of implemented. So some really exciting startup companies are actually looking at getting data from, institutions like the Army to prevent, soldiers from going into war with an active disease process and using their AI algorithms on these advanced data sets. The second thing is implementation of AI, and we sort of addressed that already. You can build this great sort of AI algorithm, and you can even test it with some great sort of collaborators that can give you data. But unless you're building it in such a way that it helps patients or it helps like physicians address, the problem that they're trying to fix, it's not going to make a difference. We have so many tools to our disposal. If we keep, going back to look at another lung nodule measuring AI, it's not going to help us that much. We need something that's already integrated into the workflow that looks at the problem, figures out what the solution might be, and it just sends it to us. There's a specific example is like multiple sclerosis. So we do a lot of brain and cervical spine MRIs that look at white matter lesions. So if we have to compare them whether or not the patient has increased or decreased in those lesions that are causing the multiple sclerosis to sort of occur. So if we found ways to automate that process instead of just comparing back and forth, that would be so beneficial to us. There's just one clinical case, and I'm sure there's so many that we can use AI to help us with.
Talk about the importance of collaboration. We were discussing this earlier in terms of really making a difference in healthcare and transforming healthcare?
Yes, that's going to be one of the central features, I think, collaboration. Because without collaboration, I don't think we can solve any of these problems, because people are going to make tools and physicians are not going to end up tools. So, as a physician myself, I look at entrepreneurial physicians, physicians with these entrepreneurial traits who, are thinking about launching companies. But with launching a company and launching a startup, there comes all of this associated risk. So physicians with those traits who are doing innovations, doing AI, machine learning within their healthcare system, have an opportunity to partner with outside companies to, select the right vendor, right AI vendor, right cloud computing vendor, and essentially build solutions for the patient populations that they have. I think the most important thing over the next 10 years is going to be intrapreneurial physicians, entrepreneurial physician traits, but for physicians that don't want to drop out, don't want to, launch their company. And I think if they had the capacity to use the AI sort of data sets, the ones that they originally have with like other third-party vendors, I think that's going to be one of the most useful traits for any physician down the line. So finding ways, with industry to collaborate with academia, I think is really going to drive the AI conversation forward.
The healthcare industry has traditionally looked at AI with suspicion. AI has a slightly nefarious reputation, if you will. Is that unfair? Is that changing? Is there anything to be suspicious about?
So I, in my conversations of the last year, I've spoken, in addition to the AI companies and the physicians, I've also spoken to a few VCs. And, I asked them, what is your impetus for investing into AI? And one of their biggest sort of takeaways was, we want something that will have the highest rate of return. So when a VC tells an AI company that the reason we're writing this $10 or $15 million check into your company is because we want a really high rate of return. Of course, the company is going to come up with these wild sort of suggestions for how this AI company is going to succeed. We're going to replace what the radiologist can do. We're going to replace what the cardiologist can do. And so that, when you say these statements, you discredit what the physicians do on a daily basis. And that causes us, as you can imagine, to have a fair amount of distrust. And that's kind of how I've seen AI, over the last several years. But I think that we're sort of warming up to the potential of AI. And I think AI companies are also sort of cooling down from all this hype that was, driving that conversation. So I think that we're certainly embracing the potential of AI. And I think, like I mentioned before, there's a lot that we do that can be automated, and we need to automate it. So, and it would be incredibly beneficial to all of us involved in healthcare.
Sounds like the conversation's shifting a little bit from replacing physicians to augmenting physicians so they can practice at the top of their license.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's something that we are very excited about. I think through AI, we have the potential to really bring all members of the healthcare community, be it academia, be it industry, even be it investment capital, kind of all together and say, hey, let's find a way to make healthcare better. We've all been patients, we've all been part of the healthcare sort of system. We understand that there are things we can do to improve. So let's use AI to help with that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.